shine when the light grows dim. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it. Like
all right, everybody, welcome back to Fear of a Flat Planet, an in-depth look behind the scenes and in front of the scenes at the Canadian Snowboard team. Today we've got Mr. Derek Livingston in the house. DK Living, not sure what you're going by these days. How are we doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Almost done my quarantine. Gonna get back out into the real world soon and hang out with everybody.
Seems to be a bit of a theme with everyone I'm talking to at the moment. Stuck in quarantine. How long do you have to do in quarantine?
We have to do 14 days when we come back to Canada from, anywhere, whether it's the States or Europe or anywhere. So I think Friday. So tomorrow is my last day and then I'm free. I'm a free man. Get to go hang out with my dog and my girlfriend and actually go enjoy the outdoors.
So it's full on, like, because I know in some countries it's like you can go and be in a household, but so you're just like solitary.
Well, I'm doing it solitary because my girlfriend works for Aritzia and their policy is like, I can't be in the house with her. We don't have enough space. If we had like a multi-room, multi-bathroom house, then we could make it work, but we just have a small 2-bedroom, single bath. So it doesn't work out for us. So I'm borrowing a friend's place. She's staying with her boyfriend and then I give it back on the weekend.
Get the biohazard suits and spray down everything.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm gonna have to wipe this place like top to bottom. She's a bit of, I wouldn't say a hypochondriac, but she's definitely very aware of COVID. So I just got to make sure everything's all tidy and clean before I leave.
Fair enough. It might be a sign of things to come this season if you're getting back on the road. Let's see how we go.
Dude, the crazy thing is like the way the season's looking, we're going to be either in the States or in Europe for most of the year. And if I have to quarantine every time I come back to Canada in between events and training camps and whatnot, like it just makes sense for me to spend my whole season on the road. And the way the States is looking right now, I don't necessarily want to spend my whole time in the States because, the COVID cases are pretty high there. And it doesn't seem like, people are living there, we got friends in the States, but it's just, I don't know, it seems a little bit safer in Whistler where you're a little bit further away from the big cities and stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's where are you based in Whistler full time?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I'd say, I live here for most of the year. And then obviously there's no Halfpipe here. So we got to go to Calgary a lot for training.
Man, that hits deep, huh? Whistler without a pipe. How many years has it been?
Well, they have a pipe. It's just not full sized, like they usually build like a 16-footer and it's fun to like mess around in, but you're not going to go like chuck double corks or try any of your big tricks in there. It's more just for fun. But yeah, it's been, I don't know, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years without a 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. Huh? Like I was talking to some other friends about this, like the pipe scene is shrinking in some ways. Like there's less access to these kind of pipes and like, almost the accessibility for your sort of average kid to be like, right, I want to go and do what those guys are doing. Like, how do I do that? If you don't grow up in Lax or Calgary or, Japan or somewhere where they like full on go into that, it's tough to step into the pipe world these days. It feels like.
Yeah, for sure. Here in Canada, most of the people who are coming up on the younger side are all living in Calgary and they're growing up with that half pipe, right? I'm sure it's similar in a lot of places, but like you look at countries like Germany and stuff, they have to travel to Lax to go ride a good pipe, or sometimes they'll go to Austria if they have a good pipe built. But like, I think we were kind of like super fortunate in Canada and North America to have so many half pipes when we were growing up. And now we're kind of like seeing it across the board where everybody's kind of cutting budgets. Breckenridge lost their half pipe when Dew Tour stopped hosting the Dew Tour. So, it's just a change of times. We'll see what happens. Hopefully more resorts will jump on the train of like building mini pipes so that it can at least introduce kids at a young age to ride transition more. Cause you don't see a ton of transition in parks these days.
No, it's not a common thing anymore.
No, and it's cool to see that, contests like US Open and other big events are putting in transition features into slopestyle. So hopefully transition features will stick around and they'll become a little bit more popular, and maybe people will jump on the half pipe train again.
Am I right in saying at the moment you are the only Canadian in the top tier for pipe riding?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you could say that currently. We had another younger kid making his way up, but he had some injuries last season that took him out for a while. So I think he'll be coming back. That's Sean Fair.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He made it to Lax Open semifinals a couple times and US Open a couple times. So
that's right.
Yeah, I think he's going to be pushing. And then we got another young kid who just learned his first double cork, Liam Gill. And he's 16 years old. So I think he's got a good future. So we got some younger kids coming up. But yeah, I'd say, I'm kind of the veteran on the team.
So, it seems like there's a bit of an imbalance in the way that the Canadian team, not I'm talking about logistics, just you've got like maybe the heaviest squad on the slopestyle and big air.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's kind of you and Sean, and then obviously these kids coming up. But so what was your road to choose pipe? Because I've seen your slope stuff. Like you could have quite easily gone down that road. What was it that made you stick to pipe and very successfully ride in the pipe as you have done?
Honestly, the biggest thing that's made me stop competing in slopestyle was double corks. Like I was at the point where I was still getting by with doing flat 10s and like 9s, and I didn't have like a big bag of tricks. And then so I was like making finals at a couple slopestyle World Cups and whatnot, but
I can see where you're going with this.
The shit out of me.
I can see where you're going with this, and it doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Doubles are stopping you competing in slope, but you've got at least one double in your pipe runs, which seems so much more dangerous.
Yeah, well, I think the double train in the half pipe came a little later.
Okay.
So it's like you could play it a little bit safer in the half pipe for a little bit longer. And I don't know, half pipe's pretty awesome. The weightlessness you feel like when you like blast like a 15, 20 foot air, like that's pretty awesome. You don't really get that feeling hitting a jump. Kind of if you hit a hip maybe, but it's still not the same.
That you drop the word safer though now, because whenever I go and I'm fortunate enough to work at these top level half pipe events, every single hit of any rider, I don't care if it's the girls or the guys, every single time, obviously I'm focusing because I'm doing the commentary often, but I'm absolutely terrified. Like, and it just seemed, like you said, that it seemed safer in the pipe. I think half pipe snowboarding at the level it is now is maybe certainly top 3 if it isn't the number 1. It's the most gnarly sport in the world, one of the most dangerous. Like you think the sustained risk from top to bottom, the athletic, the physical attributes that you have to hold, like and the margin for error is so small.
That's the biggest thing, I think, is the margin for error. If you pop too much, you're landing flat. If you don't pop enough, you're kind of on the deck. But that's like
anything.
Yeah, when I was younger, I definitely didn't think about that as much. It was more like, okay, I got to go upside down twice. I don't even go upside down once too often. So like, how am I going to go twice? And then I guess it took me a couple more years to get into the double corks in the pipe, but I don't know. Just the way I spin, like I've tried double corks on jumps, and like back double 10 seems the one that would be the easiest for me. And it just doesn't work in my head for some reason.
Right.
Like I can't picture it. I've tried a couple and I just get lost, and maybe that's just because I don't spend enough time jumping, but I don't know. It just seemed to click. I could like see all the tricks in the half pipe, like how it's going to look, like what I'm going to be looking at, just because I guess I spent more time riding pipe than I did riding jumps.
What about on the sidelines of the Canadian team on the half pipe? Because I'm familiar with most of the slope guys as well. Do you have access to all the same facilities and mental coaches, all the physical training, everything like this on the same? Do you need to use all that stuff, or do you just sort of?
There's like, we have access to most of all that stuff. Like we work out in the same gym, we work with the same trainers and stuff. The guys who are based in Calgary, like the younger kids, they have their own setup going on over there. I live in Whistler with the slopestyle guys kind of, so we all use the same stuff there. We do have access to like nutritionists and mental training coaches, and I don't use that stuff super often. I don't want to like necessarily rely on that kind of stuff, but I do see the benefit in using it. So there's a couple things like when I was coming back from an injury last season, I talked with a mental coach about like, cause I've never really taken, I don't know, like 4 months off snowboarding from an injury and having to go back into contests like that. So that was just like a big part of where I was trying to like just prepare. Cause like I was jumping straight into X Games last season, coming straight off an injury. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So that was a big one. It's like, it was my first X Games invite. Didn't want to turn it down. Yeah. Wanted to show up. Wanted to like go like ride my heart out, you know. And coming right off that injury was kind of scary, to be honest. So I don't know. She helped me out a lot, and I think I did really well. I mean, I was still kind of hurting a little bit, but I was still able to ride and pretty much put all my tricks down. So
it's some of the slams that you guys take in the pipe, and then seeing guys or girls go back up and do their runs again. I'm always blown away. But like, if you take a lipper and then bounce down and then you're able to go back up, it must be superhuman. It seems, you know.
Dude, it's pretty gnarly. I mean, I've had some bad slams, but I feel like guys like Sean and guys like Pat have taken the gnarliest ones where they're like, their face is looking over the deck and they smack their chin. Like there's that one video of Sean losing his helmet at X Games and stuff. Like, I don't know how he went back up and competed after that. Like, he must have been concussed, you know, like
I probably didn't know
that was so gnarly. Yeah. No. But like even in slopestyle, like those guys take gnarly slams too, you know. They kind of more ragdoll sometimes when they like catch an edge on the landing or something, you know.
I feel like there's just more with slope, like, you know, you've got that big long landing, like I feel like when they go down because you're kind of more able to deal with it somehow. It's more like the ones that catch the guys in the slope, I think it's like the toe edge catches on rails or like things like that where they're just fully not prepared. You can see a lot of them cat-like in the air these days. Oh, this has gone a bit wrong, and they'll just sort of skid out. Whereas in the pipe, it just doesn't seem like that's vaguely possible. Yeah, well, I mean, at every event, there's always someone who's going down, you know. That's someone's pushing it hard and it happens. It's like an inevitable part of the sport. So, but yeah, like in pipe, it can be a little bit gnarlier. I've seen some crazy crashes that have taken people out, but you know, you just got to like not think about that. And it's always a bummer when it happens, you know? Oh, man, that's the thing as well. I think as well, because like on the slope, sometimes they're gone, you know, like it could be the third jump and you're watching it on a small screen in the riders area or maybe on the big screen, but you're not like right there. But the pipe, you can see the whole thing.
Yeah, dude.
It's so impressive. Like, it's always the event that I tell people who've never, really want to come and check out with like your family or friends, you know, who've never seen snowboarding really apart from on the TV. They're always like, you know, if I wanted to go and watch a snowboard event, what should I do? What should I go and see? And I'm always like, if you can get to a top level pipe finals, just go up there, stand on the deck, and like you will never forget that experience.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, contests like Lax Open, US Open, X Games, there's always huge crowds. And that's like one of the best part about competing in halfpipe. You're doing an air, you're doing your trick, and you hear people cheering and like banging cowbells or whatever, banging the banners and stuff. And they're like right underneath you. They're like 15 feet away from you and you can hear them cheering. It's crazy.
More than 15 feet, Derek. I've seen you ride. It's more like 20.
Yeah.
Do you hear them? That's actually a question I wanted to ask, because I feel like some people, like, you could stand next to them with a megaphone, just be like, "What's up?" And they're just like, "Oh, you said something?" And yeah. Can you hear that in a run? Do you hear like people banging the banners and things?
Like vaguely on the drop in, I'm hearing it, but as soon as I'm like winding up for my first trick, like I don't hear anything. But sometimes you hear a little bit of like cheering, but it's like very faint because you're so focused on what you're doing that you're not really paying attention to all this other stuff that could distract you. I don't know. It's not like something you intentionally do. It's just something your brain does on its own to get you into, I guess, like flow state or whatever.
Yeah. So where's your favorite place to ride? Let's say a question of two parts. Where's your favorite place to ride? Just riding, like there's no comp on. There's a pipe. Like maybe there's a pipe, maybe there's not. Favorite place to ride, but also where's your favorite place to compete?
That's tough. I gotta give you a couple answers. So my favorite place to ride, I'm gonna say Whistler. We're here, like mountain's awesome. I like kind of know most of the nooks and crannies, but there's still so much to explore. And like, you just roll into the park, you have all your friends there. It doesn't matter what day it is, someone's there to ride with. And powder, we get like decent powder here all year long. So I'd say this is my favorite place. My second favorite place to ride is in Switzerland. Lax, the mountain's awesome. And every time we've been there, we've gotten dumped on. You know?
It's uncanny, isn't it? Every year.
Dude, it's insane. Contest day is always like qualifiers is always socked in, and then finals is always clear. And it's like you get to ride practice. Sometimes you do, sometimes you just go ride POW. So Lax is definitely one of my favorite places. And that pipe is just like so unique. It's so steep, so big, and you just feel like you can generate so much speed and go so high there. So that's definitely my favorite half pipe. But the vibe Lax is getting to that point where they're getting more crowds and bigger. It's becoming more of a show, and like the vibe is becoming a lot more like the US Open, but I'd say the US Open is my favorite spot. You know, it's summer. It's not summer. It's spring. It's usually warm. You can get like soft pipes and like sun's out, tons of people around. And it's like the last event of the season. So everyone's like, all right, we're done this. And then we're partying, or like, we're just having a good time, you know? So that's definitely my favorite contest.
Oh, for sure. And so, I remember the first time I ever heard, oh, the pipe's nice and icy. It's going to be great. I remember hearing that for the first time and kind of turning around and going, what's this person talking about? Surely you want like a softer pipe. But I guess nowadays, like the amount of forces you're putting in, what's the perfect consistency of snow for you for the pipe?
So the way I like to describe it is, if the snow is like chalky, that's good because you can like set your edge in and it's grippy.
Okay.
But if it's icy, it's harder to set your edge and you're gonna be slipping a little bit if you're not on point. So I wouldn't say an icy pipe is good, but a solid pipe, like a firm pipe is great. If you have like what you see at the US Open a lot is that one wall gets soft because it gets beat by the sun, and then you start losing the snap at the lip. So people start decking out on that one hit, like near the bottom, you know, second or last hit on the right, like looker's left, rider's right. It always, people start decking out because you lose the lip there. And like soft pipes are super fun for learning in because you're not afraid to fall if it's soft and slushy, you know, spring pipe. But like it makes it harder because you get huge ruts and stuff. So if you can have like a firm pipe that you can trust the wall, that's when, you know, you can just send anything you want and you're going to be landing in the right spot.
Yeah, makes sense. It's that kind of like dry kind of Colorado. Like,
yeah,
like when they're, you know, Aspen or you're in Breck or somewhere and you get those perfect groomers and then like the pipes in that, like you said, solid, but yeah, you can get an edge in, but you're not going to lose an edge. But it's
it's
like,
crispy, it's got texture. Yeah, crispy and texture. That's what you want when you're riding a pipe.
Okay. How about your setup for the pipe? Do you ride the same boards? Do you have different setups for riding park and pipe, or?
Well, mainly we try to keep our boards pretty free of dings and stuff. We don't want like scratches in the edge or nicks or anything in the base. So usually I have like dedicated pipe boards, but the board I use in the pipe is still a board I'll go hit jumps on. It's just like stiff, responsive, you know, you're going to land a little bit tail heavy and you're still going to be able to ride out of it without slipping out. And like, you know, I don't ride rails super often, but I still can ride using a pipe board. But, you know, something a little bit more softer is definitely a little bit more playful and fun in the park. And obviously you have your POW board, right?
Yeah, of course.
You got to have that as a backup, like on almost any trip you kind of go on, just in case, right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, so do you throw it in every time?
Most of the time I do. Like if I'm going to Switzerland, like in January, bringing it for sure.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going, I don't know, like didn't bring it on this last trip, but like the powder we were getting was like.
You did. You got some powder. Huh?
We got some good powder. There was like days where it was like 40 centimeters overnight, and then they had to do some bombing, so a lot of it got kind of compacted from the wind and whatnot too. But there's definitely some really good days, and it stuck around. And that's it, dude. That's the thing about riding in October is that you get winter conditions up on top, right? Instead of like going up early in like if you're going summer riding, you're getting up there and it's icy as heck. And then like there's like maybe an hour window where it's like perfectly soft and then it gets too slushy, right? But up there, you're riding winter conditions and you could get pow. So like, I don't know. I think October's, you can get warm weather. It's like you get a mix of everything, but it's more wintry, and I think that's awesome.
With such a long break, are you able to come in? Because you're frothing to get back on your board. You're probably like, snowboarding. But are you able to come into it with the sort of specific goal is, look, I've got to take it easy. Remember how this works. We can leave the new stuff till later. Let's just, get back into it. Are you able to do that? Or are you kind of like, do you have a coach there saying, calm down?
No, I'm more the reserved type, like I'll take my time getting back into things. And sometimes it's like, I take a little bit too much time. I have too much fun just doing straight airs and small stuff. But then like, it's the end of the day. I'm like, I didn't even do. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes I got to push myself to go do tricks when I just want to have a little bit of fun. Right. So like definitely on this trip, I just wanted to like take it a little bit more slow the first week or two and just slowly get into the tricks and just like really work on, like the thing I find is like riding and figuring out your technique is a big part, of riding half pipe. Like you need to know how to ride the pipe properly. If you're like a little bit too front foot heavy, you're going to be pushing off the wall. You're going to be dumping speed. It's like, just like if you're pumping rollers, or if you're pumping a burn, you got to kind of sit back a little bit and let your weight go through the transition and up into the air. So if you're a little front foot heavy, you're going to like be pushing against the wall and falling forward versus like letting your board come up the wall. So that's like a bad habit I have of being a little bit too front foot heavy. So I have to work on that quite a bit.
Is that over eagerness? Do you think you're like too focused? I gotta do this. And then off you go. Like you just sort of sit back and let it flow a bit, or is it just a pure sort of glitch in the matrix of technique?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, because I see it with a lot of people, is like people get a little too tense and they're trying to anticipate the wall coming or the lip coming. And so they hunker down and like try to resist a little bit. But like you said, if you kind of just relax a little bit more, stand up a little bit and get that weight onto your back foot, one, you're putting in a lot of less effort. Two, you're going to go bigger and everything's going to feel easier. So that's how I find it. But like, especially when you're trying to wind up for a big trick, you kind of want to be tense. You don't want to be relaxed too much because you want to like unload with this huge power. So it's like this fine line of like figuring out the balance there.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't really, that's interesting to hear. Cause you can see when someone's gone too early quite often, but like, I hadn't really heard that between the balance between the front foot and the back foot so much.
Yeah. And going early, that's all about not being patient, being a little overeager, obviously. Like if you look at Ayumu, he's got like impeccable timing, always right off the back foot. His arms don't move. It's just all in his shoulders. It's crazy.
Yeah. Watching Ayumu and Sean White, especially, like watching those, like how perfect they are every time into the transition. Like those guys are something else.
Yeah, it's insane. That's something I haven't quite figured out, but working on it.
Yeah. You got to improve. Don't sell yourself short there, Derek. You got to
Well, like, everyone rides their own style too. So like, I'm not going to look like Ayumu when I'm riding, but there's still like little things that you can definitely improve on all the time. So that's kind of like my goal, is to go out there and figure something out every day, whether it's a new trick, a new way to, hold your edge, not a new way, but like just fine tuning everything, and working on something every day.
Obviously, there's that 5-ringed event that is meant to be happening in Beijing, winter after next. Is that the goal now? Is that where are you already, eyes on the prize, or is it, a bit early doors for that?
Well, the Olympic qualifiers, am I allowed to say that word right now? Yeah. The qualifiers they start this season. So every World Cup leading up to 2022 counts. Do you personally, or maybe not personally, maybe it's part of the sort of team sort of, I don't want to reveal your secrets, of course, Derek, but do you go into it with a kind of a strategy like,
or like I've got to do enough to get there, and then when I get there, it's all in? You just sort of build, or are you kind of someone who's like, you know what, I want to be at my peak, so I'm gonna ride like each event is like, boom, I want to win this and move, you know, take it into the main event like that. How do you function?
Yeah, in the past, I've been like, get a run down, get your points, move on to the next. But I was always fighting to get into finals. I was never like, there's just something about my consistency and maybe my amplitude that wasn't getting me the points I needed to make it into a final. So I was always struggling just to stay in the ranking.
Okay.
Make it to qualify. So, but then in the last couple of years, I've gotten some podiums and stuff, and I've been making finals more consistently. So I think my plan's going to change, and I kind of want to go in and try and like, you know, I want to be going into every event, making finals and trying to get on the podium, okay. You know, and if you're making finals, you're pretty golden, you know, as long as you're there all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And so you mentioned some of the up and comers as well. How deep is the squad then in the next gen? How many sort of contenders are in there, would you say?
So we've got like 7 people total on the pipe team right now. And I'm not exactly sure if there's anyone younger than that coming up, but I'm sure we're going to find some talent in there, and they're going to do well.
It amazes me in some ways that there isn't more of the representation from Canada in the halfpipe, because you've got a pretty solid pedigree of, you know, Michael Chuck and some other guys from back in the day just sending it. Like, yeah. And the talent I was mentioning, I can't remember who it was too. Like, I remember going to Whistler for the first time and seeing guys ride and just be like, oh, they're the best snowboarders I've ever seen. And they were just like average Joe in the park. And they're like, oh, they're not even sponsored. And then the next level would show up, and I'm like, but that's the best guy I've ever seen. Or like, that's the best girl I've ever seen. And they're like, oh, they're just, you know, they work in a pizza joint then. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, it's crazy how deep the talent pool is, but people just want to shred for fun, do you think?
Yeah, I think if you go to any resort though, you're gonna find those guys. They might have like hookups, but they're not like on the tour and they're not well known, but they rip that park so hard because they're riding it every day and they just want to ride every single day. You're gonna find that anywhere you go. But in terms of like halfpipe, man, like, I don't know. I think there's just a disconnect, like after the Vancouver Games, I think kind of is when it started, where, I don't know, maybe it was the recession, maybe, where like people were getting tighter on budgets. We started losing a lot of halfpipes around Canada. Like when I grew up, there was just in my like vicinity of like a 20-minute drive of all these really small resorts, there was 5 halfpipes. So everyone grew up riding halfpipe, and there was so many small local events. And then they started like getting less, and slopestyle became more popular, and it was cheaper and easier to ride. And I wouldn't say easier to learn, but like there was just more opportunity, right? And for some reason, I think like people, or like at least with the build of the 22-foot halfpipe, you needed to be so on point with like building a good halfpipe and maintaining it that a lot of people didn't understand that. So a lot of the halfpipes went to shit, and a lot of people stopped riding them. And now we actually have good funding over the last, like, I'd say 6 years. Canada Snowboard and Freestyle Ski Canada have been putting in a lot of money into building the halfpipe in Calgary and making it better. And they get Frank Wells, who's one of the best builders in the world, to come in and train the local guys and build it with them. And he comes back in like multiple times a year to shape it and get it good for contests and whatnot as well. So I think that's a big difference in why we're seeing all these young kids around the same age that are coming up in Calgary, because they have that really good halfpipe and they have a good program out there.
Well, that's good. Well, hopefully, with you flying the flag at the top of the tier, we're going to see loads of young rippers coming up. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. And for anyone out there listening or watching, you can help out. You can go on the Canada Team Snowboard page, canadasnowboard.ca. There's t-shirts, there's toques, there's everything you can go and buy, and all those dollars go towards stuff like this. And you can also donate. Very important. There's a donate tab, and you can get a charitable tax receipt, and you can actually choose where your donation goes. So hopefully a few more dollars flying in. We'll get a few more pipes, and we'll get some more young rippers to back up Derek.
Yeah, even a little bit helps.
Yeah. Derek, it's been great. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, I'm going to leave you to one more day of quarantine?
Yeah, one more day and then I'm a free man.
Straight to the dog and the lady.
Yeah,
Who gets
exactly.
the first hug? Who gets the first hug? Your lady or your dog?
The lady gets the first hug and then the dog gets second. Well, it really depends on who comes to me first, you know. If like I walk in the door and the dog comes running, he's getting it, you know.
All right, well, Derek, enjoy your last hours of confinement. Thanks so much for joining us. Big shout out to Skull Candy for helping make this happen. Derek, we'll see you soon.